Hello and good afternoon. I'm going to give a few minutes to allow for some other attendees to join, so we will begin our brown bag at 12:05. I've muted everyone upon entry, so if you could please remain muted throughout the program, that would be appreciated. The presentation is being recorded for GPS viewing. Kay, our presenter, would like participation throughout, so if you'd like to say something, feel free to ask to be unmuted, or you can utilize the chat feature for questions if you'd like. We will begin shortly. Okay, welcome everyone to today's brown bag entitled, Is Your Glass Half Full or Half Empty? Fill up by living your bucket list on a daily basis. Our presenter for today is Kay Fink. Kay is a program coordinator for chiropractic and massage with the Connor Integrative Health Network here at University Hospitals. She would like this presentation to be interactive and for you all to share as much as you would like with the group. So please feel free to ask to be unmuted or type questions and comments in the chat feature if you'd like. I will be sending follow-up emails to all of you at the end of the presentation, not only with the PowerPoint from today, but instructions on how to obtain your healthy UH points. Welcome, Kay.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. Welcome to the class, everyone. This is one of my favorite presentations. It deals with mindfulness. So we want to looking at our bucket list on a daily basis, being mindful of what we want to occur in our lives or to, happen, or to a goal we might have or a dream we might have. So let's get started. Today's goals are understanding and applying mindfulness as a self-reflective practice, using creative expression to create and live your bucket list on a daily basis. You want to make self-care a fun practice, and it should be engaging. You want to do it. You want to be engaged with this. If you don't love what you're planning to do, you might not go through with it. So also you can share this with family and friends, and I've even shared it with patients that I've worked with. Just getting in touch with what do they need in their lives on a daily basis. Developing an action plan to live out your bucket list on a daily basis and applying this process in your daily holistic self-care practice. So what is mindfulness? And if you want to put in the chat, if you practice mindfulness, that would be great. We do have a lot of mindfulness courses, meditation, guided imagery through Connor Integrative Health Network and Health Journeys. Mindfulness is paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally, meaning we are present in the moment and we don't judge anything that's going on. We are just here experiencing everything, using all of our senses, and just being engaged. And by paying attention to thoughts, feelings, and sensations, we can achieve balance in our life. I don't know about anyone else, but sometimes we're moving so fast, we might pass by something beautiful like a flower or a tree, or I'm just in a hurry to get to work. And sometimes if we, add little snippets that could be 30 seconds, a minute, or 2 minutes, everyone has a minute or two to add something in their life that brings them into the present moment. And as you can see, if you look at the screen at the top right corner, there's, it's either a little kid or an animal that is seeing all the beautiful things around them, and it's very uncluttered in their mind. But as adults, as we are working and as we have families and we're involved in all our daily activities, sometimes our minds get cluttered. And mindfulness is about allowing us to pay attention. It doesn't mean totally clearing your mind, as might be portrayed on TV. It's about focusing on something in that moment and decluttering all of the thoughts and all the intrusions. I like to say when I'm working with patients that I have a little shelf outside my room and I dump or place all of my thoughts, all of my concerns, all of my burdens on that shelf. And I say, I'll pick you up later, but right now I need to be present with this person and be totally mindful of what I'm doing. So that is mindfulness. I use this slide as an example of how we can be living in the past or we could be living in the future, and how we want to bring it back to being centered in the present moment. So our histories, our past is a wonderful thing. It's something that has informed where we come from. It's our history, or her story, her story. But we don't want to live there. Sometimes we have regrets or sorrows. Sometimes we focus on what could I have done? What should I have done? What would I have done? And that oftentimes distracts us from being in the present. So I think going back and reminiscing, I think, bringing your history with you, looking back at wonderful times, even if you're looking back, if you're grieving about something, but you don't want to live there and you don't want to live in the future. So I have my to-do list, but I try to leave them on my desk or in my computer at the end of the day and try not to bring them home with me. I probably have to-do lists at home too. But, being in the now means you have goals and you have things that you want to achieve. You have your bucket list, you have your to-do list, you know, but focusing on the present moment on what you have to do or how you want to be, as opposed to living in that future, is a better for your health, better for your stress, better for your relaxation. It's just good for your health. And so, what I always say is use all your senses when you want to practice mindfulness. Mindful activities, use all your senses, the sense of smell and touch and taste and hearing, just be really present in what you're experiencing. And as you make mindfulness a habit, you can add these, 1 to 2 minute actual mindfulness activities. For instance, washing your hands. Instead of just washing your hands as an activity, it can be kind of like a ritual where you wash your hands and you feel the water, and you feel the soap, and you smell the soap, and you hear the water running, and you see what it looks like when it's going into the sink, and just, using all your senses. And we can do that while we make our bucket list as well, because a bucket list can be creative. It could be a collage. It could be, it could be a story. It could be just a list, but we'll talk about that later. What is mindfulness, or what can mindfulness do for you or benefit you in, is being mindful. You're in the here and now. You accept your feelings and thoughts and emotions without judgments. You might have judgment, but you can catch yourself and say, I'm going to let that judgment go. So I don't want you to say, I have to be perfect at this mindfulness, because it's a practice, and practice means not perfect. We're not perfect. So if you do have judgments, you can say, oh, I recognize that judgment here. Let me let that go and get into that thought or emotion or feeling. It promotes patience and being a witness in our life. It allows us to know when we're judging our thoughts and our emotions. And I used to push the river all the time. Like, I have these goals, I want to get them done. And now I set my goals, and I know that as I do my daily living and I do what I need to do in my daily life, those things are going to happen if they're meant to happen. And if they're not meant to happen, something better might happen. Something better might come along. It opens us up to possibilities, lessens the pressure of jumping to conclusions. And again, I'm on that road and that process, so I'm definitely not perfect at that. I do jump to conclusions. I'm a lot more aware of when I'm doing it, so that I can, you know, step back and maybe do some reflection and come to a better way of coping. It encourages us to trust our feelings and our inner wisdom, and we let go of what doesn't serve us sometimes. It can assist us being less reactive in our life, and I think it does increase our emotional intelligence as well. So, um, now that we've covered the mindfulness a bit, would anyone like to make some comments? Do they practice mindfulness? What's your experience of mindfulness? What has it been like? Do you find it easy? Is it difficult? And have you taken any classes with Connor or anywhere else that help you with the mindfulness?
I do have some comments in here. It looks like some people are learning. We have some newer people to the practice, taking moments away for myself to balance my emotions and thoughts. Some people have taken mindfulness sessions with the Connor Integrative Health Medicine. Some people don't do it enough, they say. And you have a comment. Try to do this when I begin to live in the future. Try to bring myself back to the present moment.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Yeah, I've taken mindfulness since it began years ago. It has been very helpful in calming down what could be a hectic environment.
Got it. Yeah.
I
And those
practice.
oh,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I practice mindfulness after taking a class at Connor. It has been very helpful as I migrate working from home and keeping my sanity.
Yeah, that's a big one.
The Connor course was very helpful. I've gone through mindfulness training. This really improved my stress level, decreased the stress. I've taken mindfulness at UH, very helpful reminder to slow down and reel back into the moment. I find it relaxing, especially when outside walking.
Yeah, that's a great time to be mindful.
Someone says that they have a mindfulness app with the Fitbit. Try to use it every day. I took a mindful day session through Connor. That was great. I was so relaxed and calm.
Oh, that's perfect.
Some people are learning about it for the first time.
Oh, good. Well, take advantage of the Connor classes. Our instructor gives you permission to not be perfect. And I think that's important, that it's not a perfection, but a practice. So.
I do have a question here. It looks like, how can we practice mindfulness during work hours, especially working with patients? It's hard to incorporate it during the workday, except now with the suggestion of washing our hands.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. You know, depending on how long you have between patients, oftentimes when I'm in my office, I'll put my earphones on and listen to music. I have set up inside my cabinet so that it doesn't distract anybody else in the office. I open my cabinet door and I have poems and sayings and quotes. I have pictures of family. I have some collages I made. And it's just like, it's almost like a little mini vacation I can take for a couple minutes if I'm stressed or I want to just come back to my center. So I might open it and read a quote that makes me feel good. And, or, you know, look at a picture that brings back a memory. I have time to eat lunch. So I might do, now I don't have 30 minutes where I can mindfully eat for the whole 30 minutes. That would take me forever to eat. I probably my whole 8-hour shift, but I do like 5 mindful bites, maybe 2 at the beginning, 1 in the middle and 2 at the end. I might do more, but I at least set that intention that 5 of the bites that I take, I'm going to smell the food, see the beauty of the colors of the food, taste the food, you know, be really involved in that process. You'll hear the crunching if it's crunchy, or if it's not crunchy, then it's quiet. You know, you can really do snippets of mindfulness throughout your day. You can look out the window while you're, you know, I have a couple plants that I brought in that make me smile because I can even smell the heather, you know. And you know, you could use, if you use aromatherapy, you can, you know, have like a little aromatherapy you can sniff, or, you know, anything you can do that just brings you back to that moment and using all your senses. Does that help kind of show how you can do it within minutes?
Yeah, someone else said that they try to practice being present while even with a patient, and they consider that mindfulness.
Yeah, as when I do my massages and I put all my burdens and all my thoughts and all my questions on the shelf outside the door, I am totally, and in fact, um, when I am not doing a massage on a semi-regular basis, I don't feel as grounded, because I feel like that really, you know, I have the sensation of the touch and the temperature and, you know, what the person might be saying, you know, and really being engaged if they converse. And I know we're not supposed to talk during massage, but a lot of patients do. So it's just being present and, you know, in that moment. And I really agree with that. Yeah.
Yes. Another question, how can we help others around us use or practice mindfulness? Mindfulness, do you have any tips?
For other people to practice mindfulness,
Yeah.
you know, when you have a meeting, so maybe you're at work, and you have a meeting, we always start our massage meetings with an engagement exercise. One time we took a ball of yarn and everyone would say a positive affirmation that they wanted to bring to the group, and they tossed the yarn to the next person, and at the end we had a web. So not only did we say an affirmation and we all heard everybody's affirmation, we saw the yarn being tossed, we connected as a group. There was that bond. I think, you know, when we're all in a group and we connect, you know, I think oxytocin may be released, which is our bonding chemical. I think endorphins are released. I think if you can, you know, get a group together to do that, you could have like, you know, a mindful lunch, or you might get together and just kind of mindfully have a mindful lunch where you mindfully pay attention to your food or discuss the food, or, you know, maybe everyone brings a dish and you comment on the food. uh, you know, and encouraging everyone, if you've taken the mindfulness course at Connor or somewhere else, encouraging them to take the course, maybe take it with them as and be a self-care buddy. So you're, you know, you're kind of working together and encouraging other self-care. Or, you know, like I said, just if you're at home and you have kids, you know, I wish they would teach this in school, because I really think that children, you know, are sponges. And I think if we start this mindfulness practice early on, I think we'd have a lot more happiness at school and a lot more engagement, you know, when we're in person together. Um, you know, make people bond together so that there's more collegiality. So, I mean, there's many ways to do it. Oftentimes I'll send someone a compliment because I'm mindful of what they might have done for me, but then I make them mindful of how appreciative I am of what they've done. Or just, you know, it just might be, you're just a great person and I'm glad you're in my life, you know, that kind of thing. Uh, with my niece and nephew, at one point, I think my niece was 12, and I said, hey, you know what? She goes, I know I'm cute, talented, funny, I'm smart, I'm beautiful. Yeah, 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 I get it already, you know, because every day I
Mhm.
would give her an affirmation and she absolutely heard it and it made her feel good. It made her self-esteem might have grown. So there's so many ways to do that. And as you're doing things, these actions, you're also having an effect on yourself. So and if you're mindful of that, I think it's even more impactful. Any other comments?
Yeah, someone said active listening makes you present in the moment.
Mhm.
Another person really likes the essential oils. They carry a little bottle with them because it brings them right to mindfulness.
Exactly.
I like the idea of putting my thoughts and worries on a shelf temporarily so that I can be present.
Mhm. And it's not always easy when you're in the middle of something. It isn't always easy. And again, this is a practice. I am so not perfect at that, you know, but it is a practice. And the more you practice it, the better it, the more, not the better you become, the more easily it comes to you. If you can make these habits that you have in your daily life, you can actually default to those when you start with that stress response. Don't start practicing stress relaxation and mindfulness during the moment of stress. It's to be practiced so that when you do get that stress response, it's a default. You almost just naturally go towards, I'm going to take a deep breath. You don't even think about it. It just happens. So, yeah, that's just, it's amazing how, you know, practicing something for 3 weeks becomes a habit. But don't get discouraged and say, oh, I'm not good at this, I'm going to quit. Keep going until you get it. And it may take more than 3 weeks, you know. Anything else that anyone wants to express?
It looks like that's it for now.
Well, I like how we're all in the moment because we all shared, and I think that's great. I love this quote: "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there's no path and lead a trail." And I think, you know, practicing mindfulness, you're going to lead a trail through your bucket list as we go through creating that. So, I have a quote called "Self care is not selfish." I've split selfish into two parts. It is self care ish. I used to think it was selfish to care for myself first, because I was the caretaker for others, whether it was my family or my friends or my patients. And I realized that if I don't care for myself first and put my oxygen mask on or fill up my vessel or my glass first, I'm going to deplete. So this is going to be a way for you to fill up your vessel. And therefore, once you continually fill yourself up, you're going to be able to pour forth to others. So let's talk about the bucket list. Show of hands or any comments. Does anyone have their bucket list planned yet? For me, I've always had a bucket list, but I never really put it down on paper. And when I presented this course for the first time at our holistic conference, a national conference that we had, it was amazing what I came up with. So my bucket list is pretty packed. And so I'm glad I'm starting it now, or started it not now, but started it back then. And I've been living it because there's a lot that I want to do and a lot I want to experience and a lot of joy I want to bring into my life. So the bucket list is a combination of goals, experiences, and achievements a person would like to accomplish during their lifetime. Forming the bucket list requires a reflective process to create a roadmap. A lot of people do create a bucket list, but a lot of people create them after maybe they get a diagnosis that's not that great, or, later in life, oh, when I retire, I'll have my bucket list. But, there are things on your bucket list you can do, before you retire, and while you're young to enjoy it, or while you've got that energy to enjoy it. So let's talk about that. By both knowing and I want to say that individuals can have a bucket list on their own. And I think that's great because it helps to really, intensify your life journey. But also in the research that I did and the evidence-based literature that I looked at, by both knowing and understanding a patient's bucket list, a provider can incorporate those goals while considering the impact of their individualized plan of care that they're creating with the patient. So, if you make that patient your partner and you find out what do you want to, they may have been diagnosed with cancer. What treatment am I going to give them if they want to travel to Europe and live out their bucket list? Would I want them, would I interrupt their chemo? Would I kind of arrange their treatment around that, or help them devise a plan, where they can, update their bucket list. So I think it's really important to know. I've had a lot of elders in my massage practice, and a lot of them like to talk and reflect upon their life and talk about what they still want to engage in. Most of my clients that were outpatient, and came to a practice, or I went to their house, would they were still really vibrant. And then I took care of patients in the hospital too that were, maybe waiting for a transplant, or, some treatment, and what they wanted their life to look like. And it was just, these conversations are amazing. And you may not call it a bucket list, you may call it their plans, you may just call it their life journey. But, as a provider, we can really engage with our patients and really get to know them. And I think it impacts us as well. I just feel like sometimes being so engaged in an actual, you know, client or patient provider relationship, and that's what integrative medicine is all about. Like, we really look at that relationship with the patient. It can not only impact the patient, but it impacts you as the provider as well. And if anyone wants to comment, if they've had that experience, after I read this quote, then we can talk about that before we start talking about our bucket list. Um, this quote really, and I want to give credit to 3 of my nursing colleagues where I worked with at another healthcare healthcare system. We did this presentation together at a conference, and we all love this quote. If we live our lives like there's no tomorrow, or every day as if it was our last day on earth, how long would we survive in the first place? And what kind of life would it be? If we really focused on what our journey is, and what our bucket list is, and what we want to accomplish in our life or experience, how great would that be? So um, I'm going to ask people to comment. Are there any comments, Angela?
Yeah, there's quite a few. Some people were answering your question about having a bucket list. Some people have some, I believe, like in their mind or on a phone note, but they want to put it down on paper so that they can see and visualize it every day. Some people don't have one actively, but they'll probably start one soon. Some people never even thought about creating a bucket list. Someone wants to know if there's tensions between bucket lists and practicing mindfulness.
If there's what?
Tensions. They said bucket list and mindfulness. Anyone else see a tension here?
Attention?
Tension, yeah.
Oh, like TENSION?
SION, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Well, I can see where you're saying a lot of people think the bucket list is a future idea, but we're talking about having a bucket list with whatever you want to accomplish, and every day maybe picking something to focus on. So that would be your mindful activity, not to think of all this is going to happen in my future, because there may be something like every weekend I'm learning to attain expertise in wine tasting because I want to be a wine expert when I retire. So I've got like a lot of years before I retire, but I'm working at a wine store once a week and I'm learning how to, you know, all the different things about wine. Not so much tasting it as much about like learning where it's from and learning about the grapes. And it's just been an incredible experience. And I'm knowing that in the future that'll culminate into another career for me once I finish this wonderful career I already have. So is that what you were speaking of? Like tensions between, because bucket lists are usually thought of as living in the future?
Possibly. We'll see if they comment back. Um, some people have bucket lists and have accomplished many things, looking forward to accomplishing more.
Mhm.
One person commented that they're not sure how to start engaging a bucket list. So could you like
Yep.
comment on
Yep.
that?
We're gonna talk about that in a few minutes. Any other comments before we go on?
Yeah, let's see. The hard thing about a bucket list now during the pandemic is there's not much to can achieve on it right now,
Mhm.
like traveling, etc. But it is hopeful for when the pandemic is over and we can
Mhm.
achieve these dreams and goals. Maybe we can touch on some bucket list items that we can achieve during the pandemic.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
when my significant other and I moved into our house, we were cleaning and packing. We came across his written bucket list from 10 years before we met. He was
Awesome.
able to go through and cross some things off.
Hmm. That's
Some
great.
people said, I don't have a true list, but definitely need to write one up. Definitely think it will be helpful now that I'm starting a family.
Hmm.
I am off today, but I'm listening from home. This is an awesome presentation that I'm able to practice mindfulness away from the daily work routine.
Excellent.
Um,
That's excellent.
I have a list of goals, but think about a bucket list now.
Hmm.
I have a mental bucket list, but I think writing down would help to make it more achievable.
Hmm.
I feel like I live every day to take care of others and never have any time for myself.
Got it.
Everything on my bucket list requires me to have a will on file just in case because it's all too much fun.
That's cool.
Yes,
I like it.
I have I have big goals. Once I complete the major goal, I strive for another major goal.
That's good.
After being diagnosed with cancer, a real eye opener, better be living the bucket list because my days are numbered. Thinking about if that happened to you, what would you do? I was not prepared for that. Are you? Is anyone really prepared for that?
Got it.
Um, someone said their mental bucket list is my mommy do list.
Got it. That's good. Any others? Is that it?
That's it right now.
Okay. All right. So creating your bucket list. You can write it if you're a writer, if you're visual and you like to create collages. You could do it on paper. You can cut out. I've done collages where I've cut out pictures and kind of arranged them. So I have those in my cabinet that I told you that no one else knows about. And then I also thought about what if I'm on vacation and I want to live my bucket list, but I can't carry my bucket list poster with me. So I hope I don't mess this up, but I've got another document here. So I'm going to show you what my bucket list look like. It's an online bucket list. I used a PowerPoint presentation. So I actually can access that on all of my devices, all of my personal devices. And I think what it is we need to outline our themes. What are our major themes? And then select images, create new images, or write down what they are. You know, like if you're not, and don't be intimidated by saying creative because you don't have to be an artist to do this. I had people in that class who were like, I'm not an artist. I'm so intimidated. I'm like, just nobody's going to judge. It is just what you want in your life. And they created the most beautiful collages and they were so excited at the end and they were all sharing them. So don't worry about the fact that you didn't go to art school. You're not a professional artist. This is just your bucket list and it's personal to share with whoever you want. You creatively mindfully place those images to illustrate your goals and dreams, and it can be on canvas paper, it can be online, like it could just be a list where you just check things off. And so let's take a look. So slideshow. I should have put getting better at technology, but that's more of a to-do list than a bucket list. So here's my self-care bucket list. It's important to move. It's important to get centered. I do the affirmations daily. I will use my name on the side of a piece of paper and write out Karen, kind, amiable, um, you know, whatever I can do. And then kind of use those adjectives that day to bring me up if I need to be brought up, or I might look back on something I wrote before. I write poetry. I like to color online. I like to be grateful. So all the different things we can put on our self-care, list, I've listed in my bucket list. I always think that in the corner, Snoopy kind of chilling out and meditating. He's just kind of cool. A labyrinth. The words, the words that we can use, to build ourselves up. Because words can build up and they can break down, and we want to use the ones that build us up. So that's my self-care bucket list. There's 7 pages, so bear with me. I am a uh, I kind of like to create. So I want to be a sommelier. Well, I actually want to be a wine expert. So this is my my wine expert bucket list, and it is not only just tasting wine, because tasting wine is just a very small part of it. It's about being involved in the process and learning what happens, as the grapes are growing. What smells can you smell? And just being totally engaged. So while others are drinking wine, I'm sipping it and I'm savoring it and I'm, really getting into it. So that is one very big bucket list thing I'm going to check off. Leadership, I believe I am a servant leader or servant leader, and I'm learning about transformational leadership. And I look to these leaders, so I put them on my bucket list. Some of the leaders, like, I think Mr. Rogers was a leader. He just brought self-esteem and learning and kindness into the world, And Maya Angelou, I love poetry, but she's a leader because her words really mean something. And I believe in serving, and then as you serve, you become a leader. And that's how I am. I'm not doing the leadership for the fame and the glory. I believe that most people who are in leadership go for it to be of service. Okay. And then I am writing. I'm putting together my first volume of poetry. I'm writing a novel, and I'm very wordy, and I'm working on that. But in the creative realm, the wordiness is okay. So I really just love libraries, and I love books, and I love the art of learning. I also like using the right and the left brain. I'm more right brain, so I could live in that right brain all the time. But because of the work I do, I have to create and develop that left brain. So journaling, I'm a terrible journalist, a terrible journaler. So I say I'm going to journal every day. I don't. I only journal or I write poetry when the inspiration strikes. Becoming a speaker. So I started out being very shy and not being able to talk. And then I did my first presentation, and then I became a teacher of massage, and I've gotten to the point where I can speak in national conferences. I was at one international conference or two. So it was really a process. And these are some of the different things that the different topics that I've taught. So I always keep that on my bucket list. And then, of course, the community that I have, my family, my sister and my sisters from other families. I have a lot of different friends who I consider family as well. And so that community you build is so important, because the more community you have, it's better for your health. When you're engaged, I think it keeps you young. I think it keeps you healthy. I think it keeps your mind, young as well. So that is one of my bucket list topics. And then just all the fun things I want to learn to do. I want to take ballroom dancing. I love art. I love poetry. I am not an artist. I create things. I use alcohol ink as a medium. I want to get into more of the herbs. I do want to make a pottery. I would like to learn how to cook, but I'm very domestically challenged, as most people know. Riding horses, kayaking, just everything I would love to try. And then on my bucket list, I also have my theme song. So I have different theme songs for the mood I'm in. So, you know, being brave or the nature, healing time on earth, you know, just things that help me when I want to connect. So I might just say, I hope you dance that song. You know, it's not just about dancing, it's about living and being really engaged in your life. So, so that is my bucket list for now, and it's ever changing. So, um, it's just an example, and it took me a long time to create that. So, you know, it might be one piece of paper, it might be a list, whatever. It could be, you know, photographs that you've taken out of magazines. You know, this is where I want to go. And I think talking about what we can do during the pandemic, if you want to travel, so you can't really travel right now, but you can watch the Travel Channel, or you can find things on YouTube, uh, documenting, you know, places where you want to travel, and like maybe seeing videos. I know at Planet Fitness, when I do the hydro massage table, there's at one of the locations, they actually have a travel thing where you press a travel app where you press and you can be at a beach, or you could be skiing, or you can, and you just watch that. So there's different things that you can do. You may want to plan that trip that you're going to take once the pandemic is over, you know. So it could be about planning it and then living it. So I think planning, to me, planning is awesome, because you get to, you have all the possibilities open. You may not be able to go everywhere you want, but you could read about it, and you could, you know, make your map, you know, where do you want to travel, and what would you like to see? And, you know, I think that would be great. And even doing that with a group, you know, on Zoom or something like that, you know, just kind of sharing your common interests. So let's see here. Having technical difficulties. Oh, I know why. Here we go. There we go. Oh, okay. So let's talk about our bucket list. And then I have how can we commit to our self-care practice of mindfulness using the bucket list? And also I have a nursing theory. Instead of giving you all the words, it's a conceptual model. So it shows you how to put self-care into your life and make it successful, you know. So anyone commenting in the chat box on how they would view their themes for their bucket list, or, you know, how they would create it? You know, let's have a dialogue.
I do have some comments here. Let's see. What do you do if your spouse's bucket list doesn't align with yours?
What would I do? I would say it might be the best of both worlds. I mean, you know, I wouldn't say if your spouse wants to jump out of a plane and you have a fear of heights, you might want to avoid that. But you can be involved by being on the ground to meet him, and then going and having a nice dinner. And that, you know, combining your bucket list. So he might want to jump out of a plane and you like to stay on land. You know, but finding, you know, what can you combine on that bucket list, so that you know, if you're on a trip or you're doing something together, you both experience it. So there's like that, you know, and there's that experience that you can share together, even if you're not doing the same exact thing. Does that?
Yes, I'm sorry. I had to mute Kay. So if you could unmute yourself, I had to click mute all to make sure everyone was muted.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, okay, now I can hear you.
Did
Okay.
did you hear what I was saying?
Yes, I
Okay.
did. We did hear everything that you said. So I
Okay.
just wanted to click that just to make sure everyone was muted, because we could hear some things in the background that we don't want to have on the recording,
Got it.
just in case it's private information. So I do have a couple more comments I'll read here. Everyone's thanking you. They're inspired by your bucket list. Let's see. I'm going to start with all the things I want to try and places that I want to travel to. Very good question. Husband's list and your own. Bucket list resembles my vision board.
I love vision boards. Yes.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Does anyone want to say like how they would create their bucket list? Would you do a collage that you could physically have? Would you rather have it online, so no matter where you're at, you can have your, so if I go on a trip, I have my bucket list on my iPad. that kind of thing. Or would you just want a list where you check? Some people are very straight to the point. I just want a list. I want to check off everything I do. Uh, or it could be just in your mind. You don't have to do something physical. So, any comments on that?
Some people, a lot of people, sounds like they're commenting on wanting to have it, you know, out visually for them
Mhm.
somewhere around their house or something so they can see it every day. Some people commented that they have them in their phones or in notes,
Mhm.
written down, but not like posted up somewhere. Someone keeps theirs online so they can update it, but
Great. Yeah.
no other comments yet.
Oh, okay. Well, just kind of think about if you want to take a moment to reflect, because we'll practice some mindfulness now. Now that we have the idea of what a bucket list is and some examples, I wish I would have had. I know I have it somewhere, but my co-presenters all had their bucket list. I just can't find them. But they were all kind of on posters, and I presented mine online to the class, to the group. But just kind of reflect, and if you come up with anything from this mindfulness practice, just take deep breaths in and out, close your eyes, just kind of almost just allow the thoughts to come in your mind, because instead of forcing it, if you get any, vision of what you'd like, or any, thoughts, just put that in the chat as well. Because I think this is a great way to create a bucket list, is to hear other people's ideas. And again, I'll give my contact information out at the end, and it'll be in the PDF PowerPoint that she sends to you. So if anyone wants to, kind of need any little coaching, I can always, be reached. And I just think this is, I wish we could form a group, a bucket list group. But I think it's really important to like share your ideas, but try to take the next 2 to 3 minutes, and I'll be silent, and just reflect and see if you come up with anything. And please share it in the chat if you do. So I can set a timer so we don't go over, because I know we're on a time frame. So deep breathe in and out. Close your eyes if you like, and just allow your mind to pick up whatever comes into it without judgment. That's mindfulness. You're in the moment. Let the breath help keep you in the moment. And I'll start the timer. Okay. That was, oops, okay. That was 3 minutes. So just take a moment, and if you had anything come to you about creating your bucket list, go ahead and put it in the chat, or you can it has to be unmuted if you want.
Some people have said they have, one person said they have a travel app called Bin that shows where they've been. They also have a pin map in their house that they use.
I love that.
Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
soon. The only thing I know is that I will go parasailing prior to my 90th birthday.
Awesome. Parasailing is the most fun ever. I love it.
I feel like I would do best with something like a vision board.
Yeah, vision board. That's awesome.
I have it on, having it on multiple applications is a good idea, especially while on location.
hmm
I think I would prefer a list and love the pin map idea.
hmm
I love the idea of making a collage of your bucket list ideas, put them in a photo album, and maybe as you complete them, you snap a pic of it and replace the image in your photo album with a pic of you completing the item on your bucket list. Then you can
Oh,
visually see how many items you have completed and have memorable photo of it and how you still have left to do.
yeah. Or you could keep both. You could have
Yeah.
one side is your bucket list item, and the other side, when you open the book up, the other side is that picture. So you can kind of see. Yeah, that's awesome.
I like your idea of the bin app and the pin map. Then you can look back and reflect where you've been already.
hmm
Um, it's nice to put into perspective that there are more than just travel locations to add to a bucket list. So
hmm
many times we just say we want to travel to these places.
hmm
I have a pin map as well. We love to travel, and it also motivates us to add more
hmm
traveling, including mission trips.
Yep.
I definitely have more than just travel on my list,
That's
but
excellent.
travel is easy for me to visualize.
hmm hmm Yeah, that's great.
Let's see if there's, I think there's more. I don't know. I think that's it.
Okay. So how do we commit to our self-care? How do we commit to having a bucket list? Sometimes we need to sign a contract with ourselves. So I've signed many a contract, and I also pick a self-care buddy because I oftentimes, being a caregiver, I am more accountable to others than myself. So in fact, I'm starting another 8-week course at Connor because I'm better when I'm better at doing the things I need to do and completing the items I need to complete when I'm in a class and I feel I'm, more, I'm being committed to that class and that instructor. So my contract is usually I will mindfully continue to live out my bucket list each day, and I can journal my bucket list experience each time I complete a goal or take that picture and that photo, or, whatever it is, cross it off, or, whatever those steps are, it's your own contract. And the other thing, oh well, I just wanted to, this is a quote I love. And we all are instruments of healing. But as nurses or other healthcare providers, I think this, although this is the statement in the article I wrote, I believe it applies to all caregivers, all providers. As nurses incorporate mindfulness into their self-care regimens and enhance their own internal and external environments, they become role models for health and well-being of their clients, their peers, and their communities. And I really believe that. I really believe that's true. And I just love the idea of community as well. We're all in it together. So, any other comments about formulating your plan for mindfulness, relying on this personal bucket list, living it daily? Anyone else want to share any plans, your goals, your dreams, or if you've changed how you might want to create your bucket list? I know we talked about. I think this should have come before we had all that discussion, but again, no judgment here. So, but if anyone wants to add into the comments, that's fine. I love this image because you can see how with this fountain, it's the water's continuously being, you know, filling up each vessel, and it's continuous. It never stops. And that's how I view self-care is we are constantly filling our vessel with our mindfulness and our self-care. And whatever we do, exercise or breathing or affirmations or I going to get a massage or self-massage or acupressure, whatever we're doing for our self-care, including our bucket list, is filling us up so that we can have the resiliency and the energy and the ability to care for others in our life and in our work. Dr. Adan is our director at Connor, and she says self care is not negotiable. It is not something you can take for granted because if you're going to care for others, you have to care for yourself first. If you are on an airplane and the oxygen mask drops, if you give someone else oxygen, you don't have it for yourself, you're not going to be able to continue helping. You need to, care for yourself first. I put some of my self-care on my calendar so I get reminders because sometimes I get busy and occasionally I'll miss the reminders for like a self-care class, and again, no judgments, but it helps me make self-care a habit. I don't believe self-care is selfish anymore. I told you it's self-care-ish. And Eleanor Brown said, self-care is not selfish. You cannot serve from an empty vessel. So were there any more comments yet in the chat?
Here's one. One cannot pour water out of an empty bucket is a favored Ukrainian proverb.
Exactly. It is true. So I want you to take a look at this model of health promotion. It is a nursing model, but I think it kind of transcends throughout different areas. And we have our past experience, which is the left-hand column, and our past characteristics. And then we lead into what's going on now. So do we perceive, is there a benefit to creating a bucket list or whatever self-care or whatever health promotion tool you're thinking of incorporating? What is the perceived benefit? What are the benefits? What are the known benefits if you're like into evidence-based practice? What are the barriers? Some of us don't have support. We might not have time or think we don't have time. I don't have time to meditate for an hour, but Susan says if you can meditate for 2 minutes and just feel be in the mindful set that if you have 3 minutes, go for 3, or maybe there'll be 5, but eventually you build up. But, like I said, during my day, I don't have an hour for meditation, but I might during my lunch take a couple minutes or during my break, and just I might take a walk around the building and meditate on what I'm hearing and seeing and feeling, using all our senses. So look at your barriers and see if you can overcome them or what you can do to rearrange your life to allow, your ability to add these tools into your toolkit. What's your perceived self-efficacy? What is your self-confidence? How confident are you you can do this? Or do you feel intimidated? Or is, mindfulness meditation intimidates me, but mindful activities do not. So I started with mindful activities and now I'm up to at least meditating 10 minutes with the use of an app. So, I was not confident in my ability to meditate, but it's grown because I got permission to not put pressure on myself. And thank you, Suzanne, my instructor. Um, you know, Interpersonal influences. Do I have a self-care buddy? Are my peers supportive? Do we have a little group we can get together? Is my family, kind of ridicule me when I take care of myself instead of taking care of them? Or are they supportive? Or how might we build a self-care regimen together so everyone feels involved? And it's not like I'm taking care of myself, you're on your own. Let's take care of ourselves together. All kinds of things. And then it leads to the commitment to the plan of action, which is towards the right side. What can you do to allow that to happen? And then you have that health promoting behavior. And again, allowing little snippets during the day to create a habit allows you for success. So if you can use this model, that's great. If you don't resonate, just don't pay attention to it. I don't have time to cover all of the information about Connor, but it will be in the presentation she's sending you. I would love you to focus on the self-care resources from Connor. And if you want to get on the or be put on the newsletter email list, Allison Chasko at uhhospitals.org can put you on there, and you will get weekly or bi-weekly information about what's happening at Connor and what are we offering. One thing we're offering is the Health Journeys gift to all the employees, and you should hear about that on several different venues. It was in the Connor newsletter. It was the Connor Resilience newsletter. I think it was on the digital workspace. And so I really think that's important for guided imagery to have a year's subscription to that for free, provided through Connor and Health Journeys. We do have a lot of different locations for you to come if you want to be a client here and receive care. And then this is my information as well as Connor's. Feel free to email me, but make sure you put a 3, Karen.Fink3 @UH Hospitals. Contact me, let me know how you're doing. And I can learn, I can teach, but I also learn. So I think just this whole discourse that we've had has been a learning experience for everyone. I see there's more comments coming in. And so Angela, if you would like, I know we're getting close to ending.
Everyone is just thanking you for the presentation. They really enjoyed it. They love the information that you shared, the ideas that you have, and it's very encouraging to all of them. So I really
Wonderful.
appreciate you being a part of our presentation today.
Thank you.
And then I will send out this information very shortly to all of you.
Mhm.
And thank you for participating in our presentation.
Thank you, everyone. It was so nice to present to everyone.
All right, have a wonderful rest of your day.